Hey everyone, and welcome to The Beatdown! This week's episode of Impact Wrestling opened up with a bang. We had Erick Young and Willie Mack in the back fighting against each other. They were scheduled to fight, but I never knew that it was gonna start off like this. It was a nice surprise. Like, I wasn't expecting a backstage segment, a backstage fight.
Definitely, they definitely dragged each other into the ring, down the ramp, fighting. Not a dull moment in this action scene here, seen from backstage into the ring instead of your traditional entrance musics and all that.
The action in the ring was also really special. I felt like I really saw Erick Young really going at it and just really giving it all in the ring against Willie Mack. I had not seen Erick Young this determined in a long time, and I just want to remind you that every time I see Erick Young, I'm always reminded of him holding the women's tag team belt. So I feel like he's doing a really good job at trying to get me to erase that memory from my head and kind of classify him as a real tough competitor.
Yeah, you know, I really like the way he's building up his character. I wasn't familiar with his previous character a few years back, but I gotta say, like, you can see the look in his face, the eyes, you know, he's got light colored eyes, but he makes them pop when he stares right into the camera and he says, "You're gonna end up just like Rich." And he starts screaming and you could see the veins on his bald scalp.
This match is really building up. I really like the storyline behind it. We got Willie Mack standing up for his friend, Rich Swann, who is injured and he didn't show up this week on Impact. And we got Erick Young taking out the vengeance, the aggressiveness against Willie Mack, who's just kind of like taking it on.
So I've got something to add to this. There is a notable part when Erick tells Willie, "This is my world now." So that made me think, could there be some kind of locker room feud in the back that we don't see on camera between the OG Impact superstars and these new incoming superstars? Do they low-key not like each other, or are they kind of beefing it in the back or something? That is the question of the day. Let us know your answer to that down in the comments. Like, subscribe, you guys know what to do. So what do you think, Kevin?
That's a very interesting question. I actually think that Erick Young just wants to really prove to the locker room that he is here and he is here to reclaim his spot, and he wants to be at the top and he wants to be taken seriously.
I could see that for sure. You know, like I said, you see it in his scalp, you see it in his eyes, you see the veins in the scalp when he's wrestling, when he's looking at the camera. It's definitely notable.
One thing I'm really happy about is that when Willie Mack lost his title at Slammiversary, I really thought Willie Mack was gonna get lost in the shuffle and kind of get forgotten about. But I really like how he's being implemented into a current storyline with Rich Swann and Erick Young. And he's making sure that you don't forget that he still exists on Impact. And even if he doesn't have the title around his waist, he's still a very tough competitor, even though he lost this time.
But you gotta ask yourself, what did Willie Mack do to Erick Young? Why is it that Erick Young keeps telling Willie Mack, "You're gonna end up just like Rich"? You know, I don't understand. Why? Why does Erick Young hate Willie Mack?
Well, he got in his business, that's why, you know? No one told Willie Mack to get into Rich Swann's business. He's just sticking up for his friend.
Well, that he has all the reason to do so, you know, they're buddies.
And because of that, we're gonna keep seeing them feud, and we're gonna see where they go after this. I mean, Willie Mack got his ass beat, and I'm pretty sure he's gonna want to get payback next week.
Yeah, one thing for sure is that Erick Young is definitely climbing his way up to the top of the food chain. Everybody wants a piece of him. So the match itself, you know, we like the action, we like how it started backstage. The overall verdict, I give this match a thumbs up.
I give it a thumbs up too, because I really like the backstage segment and I really like the action in the ring.
And even though Willie Mack didn't win, it was still a good match.
Exactly.
And it leaves you open to wanting more between them. Moving out of the Impact Zone and into Wrestle House, where we get the distinction between Impact Zone and Wrestle House, On this episode of Wrestle House, we saw Cousin Jake went on a date with Susie. Now, if you ask me, that's just the odd couple to be on a date anyways, because, you know, you've got the Diener, Cousin Jake, and then you've got Undead, well, she used to be the Undead bride, Su Young, now she's Susie. But yeah, it's very interesting to see, you know, this cheerleader's Susie character go on a date with this dirty, beer drinking,
I mean, he took a shower, didn't you see? He was shaved, he was clean, he was ready for that date.
I mean, true. I got no comment in regards to that. You're right.
And what about the food? I wonder if that was Cousin Jake's cooking.
That's got Cousin Jake written all over it.
Su Young probably got a little taste of Cousin Jake's secret recipe.
Aside from the date between Susie and Cousin Jake, we also got to see Taya forcing everybody in Wrestle House to watch her highlights, despite the fact that they voted.
You know, what was interesting to me was who was Larry looking at? Because that was the reason AC got mad at him, right?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious, you know. I don't know about you, but I saw Rosemary lose some kind of spell onto him because she was trying to get Johnny jealous.
That's true, that's true. So, is there going to be a little mix-up between Larry and Rosemary?
I don't think so. I think it was, I think Rosemary didn't get what she wanted, which was to make Johnny jealous. But I think it was a good twist, and that's one of the things I like about Wrestle House, is you get to see these kind of goofy matches that you would never see on the Impact Zone. When would you ever see both members of Triple XL, Larry D and AC Romero, fight against each other? You never see teammates fight like that against each other, but that is something that can only happen on Wrestle House without the team breaking up.
That's very true. This is one of those matches you see, and normally the way wrestling works would be that the partners would turn on each other and then that's what they would fight each other. But because we are in Wrestle House, they get to fight each other, and next week they're still gonna be friends. They're gonna pretend like none of this happened, and we as a fan got to enjoy a match between Larry D and AC Romero, which was very entertaining. These big guys going at it. I really liked it.
Right, because you gotta remember, when Tommy Dreamer comes in and declares there's a match, that's how they resolve any drama within Wrestle House. They wrestle it out. It's also funny that the highlights Taya was forcing them to watch was pretty much the highlights of when Taya has defeated or has been, you know, kicking Rosemary's ass in the past.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting that she chose to put the first match she wrestled in against Rosemary, where she ended up winning while Rosemary was watching. I wonder if she was mad that they had to rewatch that.
I'm pretty sure Rosemary felt some type of way about it.
And it also comes to the next segment of Kylie challenging Taya. So we saw clips of Taya being dominant, but then Kylie wanted to fight and Taya said next week. A fighting champ or someone who was on top, someone who is the longest reigning Knockouts Women's Champion, should have just hopped in that ring and said, let's go, let's do it.
I mean, she should have, but you know Taya, she's a diva. She had all her makeup on, her hair was done, she wasn't in her ring gear, you know. I wouldn't have fought either if I was her. I was gonna be like, you know what, I would have done the same thing. I would have been like, okay, I'll catch you next week, because obviously I'm not in fighting mood right now.
This is a big help for Kylie, because now she is gonna get some one-on-one ring time with Taya, and this should definitely help her for when she goes against Deonna Purrazzo or whoever is a knockout champion at the time. This is just more experience for her for when she actually fights in her title match. So going up against Taya should be very good to watch, and it should be a little preview of what's in store for when she actually fights for the championship. So for Wrestle House this week, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a thumbs up because we saw a couple of storylines progress, and I'm looking forward to next week when Kylie goes up against Taya. It's gonna be interesting.
Jordynne Grace versus Kimberlee. So for those of you who missed last week's Impact Wrestling and who didn't get to see our review about it, you missed out if you didn't watch either of those. So the agreement Deonna Purrazzo had with Kimberlee was that Kimberlee was going to take care of Jordynne, which I thought was a bad idea on Deonna's behalf, because if if Deonna can beat Jordynne Grace, and if Kimberlee can't beat Deonna, how the hell is Kimberlee supposed to defeat Jordynne Grace? Just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why Deonna took the deal, but nonetheless, Jordynne Grace came out on top.
And Jordynne was very vicious in this match. One thing that stood out to me was her submission at the end of the match. You could really tell she really wanted to hurt Kimberlee. She really put that lock really hard, which made her submit. And I really like this. I like this new Jordynne that is coming out. This new aggressive Jordynne that looks like she wants to reclaim her title. And I'm very excited to see where she's gonna go with this. Where's that anger gonna go? How is she gonna use this anger to help her progress?
Well, I don't know about you. I gotta disagree. I mean, I think Jordynne Grace hasn't changed. I think she's just always been like this. I think maybe you just never noticed it as much. But I always see, you can always see when she gets the 2 instead of a 3, she always smacks her lips. She always does something. You know, she's always got that anger in her. But I do agree with you on the fact, on the call out you just did about the submission move. She did that nice spine buster on Kimberlee, and you can tell she's been practicing her submission, because I don't think Jordynne is too big on the submission, but it sounds like she knows that Deonna is big on the submission stuff, so she has to kind of practice on that end.
And poor Kimberlee, man, like if she had won this match, she would have got a chance at the Knockouts title, but she lost. So I guess she's just gonna have to keep trying.
Better luck next time.
This match overall, I'm gonna say it's a thumbs up for me. I really liked it. Jordynne is looking good in the ring, and we'll see if she's able to get that Knockouts title soon.
This week's episode of Locker Room Talk was sponsored by Heath, #Heath for Impact, because Heath is still trying to fight to be an official member of the Impact roster. So, you know, I don't know what's up, but I feel like, you know, elections are coming up, and it seems like Impact is technically, it seems like Impact, you know, they had the vote on what to watch. Kylie accused Taya of doing electoral fraud, and then now we've got Heath for Impact with, you know, some patriotic advertising in the background. You know, he obviously got that from us.
And it's really interesting. I really like this segment because that came out of nowhere. I was not expecting an advertisement for Heath. So I really like that segment. I really look forward to it. Like, Heath is just trying something new. And these are the types of opportunities that you get at Impact, where you're able to create your own character and really give it your all and make sure you don't get lost in the shuffle.
Then going into Locker Room and Talk itself, I don't know how I feel about this one.
What are you talking about? It was RVD and Katie Forbes. What more do you want?
Yeah, but Locker Room Talk is Madison Rayne as a host, and she obviously left her own set because things weren't going the way she planned.
What was she expecting? If she knew she was gonna have RVD and Katie Forbes, like, this was gonna happen. You already know something like this is gonna happen if they're there.
Right, but you know, usually Locker Room Talk is more of a comical skit, and you know, it's funny, and it's a little way that you get to know a little bit more about the wrestlers, about their rivalry. She interviews them. This wasn't really an interview, so
I just wish that Johnny Swinger would have been there. That would have been interesting. What would Johnny Swinger have done if RVD and Katie Forbes started making out? What would the Swingman have done?
I don't think it would have done much.
But I'm happy to see that Sami Callihan did get in this segment and made his presence known. I'm really excited for this storyline. I want to keep seeing it progress, but it's moving along really slow, and Impact is just teasing at this RVD versus Sami Callihan match.
This week's segment of Locker Room Talk, from me, I have to give it a thumbs down.
It was definitely a thumbs up, big time, especially because Sami was there. Like always, Moose is always picking on the smaller guys. I really wish he would pick on someone his own size. And this week he decided to give Suicide or Trey a title match. I'm not sure who's going to show up next week. I'm kind of excited. Do you think it's going to be Trey or is it going to be Suicide?
I mean, that's a good question, you know. I was kind of, you know, when we saw even the match with Suicide I was wondering, is that going to be Trey or Suicide? But when it was against the Rascals, I was like, it's obviously not Trey. But yeah, I don't know. I think Trey might put Suicide's mask on next week for that match.
And that would be kind of funny to see, right? If Suicide manages to win against Moose, like, and then Trey takes off the mask and it happens to be him, like,
he wouldn't take off the mask. But then again, if Trey wins the TNA Heavyweight Champion as Suicide, I don't think Trey would be the valid champion holder because he won it as someone else.
And we go back to the idea that who cares? It's just the prop that Moose is carrying around. If Moose wins, if Trey wins, it doesn't matter because the title means nothing.
It matters to me. Speaking of Moose, on other terms, we also saw Moose in the backstage and he came across EC3.
I gotta love the mind games that EC3 is playing on Moose. You just have to love the way he's getting into Moose's head, and he is making sure that when they finally face in the ring, that Moose is gonna be kind of tripping out, kind of on his defensive side, because he's not gonna know what to expect from EC3. I bet you Moose was expecting EC3 to show up in person, but nope, EC3 was one step ahead. He showed up virtually.
Just like I said, he reminds me of like V for Vendetta, the Anonymous Hacker group, you know?
I really like how Impact just keeps teasing us. I really hate it, but I love it at the same time. And I can't wait to see where this goes. One of my favorite knockouts, Deonna Purrazzo, only had like 2 minutes of screen time, unfortunately. But she did tell us that in 2 weeks, we're gonna have a 30-minute Iron Man match against Jordan. Jordan and Deonna Purrazzo are gonna go at it, and I'm excited. Like, this is gonna be a very interesting match to watch between Jordan and Deonna Purrazzo. 30 minutes in the ring fighting. Who gets more pins on who? Like, I think after this match, we're gonna decide and we're gonna find out if Deonna Purrazzo really deserves to be Knockouts champ.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good match, but I feel like they should be hyping it up more because as of now, we're seeing Jordynne Grace fight with other people and we're seeing Deonna not fight anybody, and they're kind of just talking to each other behind the mic.
She's the champ. She is chilling. She earned the title, and now you get to chill. When you're a champ, you get to chill. That's how it works. You don't gotta defend your title every week like Eddie Edwards. Why work harder than you have to? Deonna is being smart. She is prepping herself for this 30-minute Iron Man match. Can you imagine how much she has to prepare psychologically and physically?
I mean, all I know is my money's on Jordynne Grace.
Deonna Purrazzo is going to continue to be champ. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's going to be a very good match to see. These two impressive knockouts are going to be in the ring for 30 minutes, and you know, I know that the second half of that match is going to be a lot more intense than the first half.
And the segment was really short, but Deonna Purrazzo was in it, so it gets a thumbs up for me. Tasha Steelz and Kierra Hogan are such an interesting tag team. I know when they paired them up, I wasn't really too sure what to expect. But after this week, it's like, damn, it's a match made in heaven for them two. When they were going to come out to the ring, they decided, nope, we're going to go back and we're going to attack Havok and Naveah when they're coming out, when they least expect it. These are the tactics that I expect from these two, and I love it. Havok and Naveah had no idea what hit them.
It was a great tactic on behalf of Kierra Hogan and Tasha Steelz. I really like it. I didn't see that coming. I didn't even think that anyone would think to do that. And it was a great match overall. It was a no disqualification match. We saw some weapons being used. We saw Havok, this huge Havok, smashed against the wooden table.
And you know, it was an interesting match because Kierra and Tasha are a lot smaller than Naveah and Havok, but they were able to impress in the ring against these two bigger size competitors than them. Usually you would see them get tossed to the side and kind of just, you know, get played with, but nope, they stood their ground and they were able to fight against these two powerful knockouts.
Right, it was it was an impressive moment when Havok was up on the apron, just outside, hanging over the ropes, wondering if she was going to be the one to get the table or if it was going to be her competitor. And it was awesome to see it be Havok for a change.
And the tag team moves that these two displayed was really good. The way they worked together to push Havok so that she would break that table, it's just classic tag team action. I'm always impressed by the way that the knockouts fight in matches that involve weapons. There were so many weapons that were used this match, and the knockouts didn't care. Like, they were really hitting each other. They weren't like, oh, I'm gonna hit you soft because I'm a woman. No, they were going at it. Like, there was no holds barred. It was almost like you were seeing men fight with the weapons. I really like how the knockouts are on top, just like the men, and they're doing the same moves, competing in the same atmosphere as the men in the locker room.
We give this match a thumbs up.
You know, it had been a while since we had seen Xavier in a match, right? So I was kind of excited to see him go up against Suicide today, but in my head I kept wondering, is he going up against Suicide or Trey?
I'm pretty sure he wouldn't have gone up against Trey.
Cause where was Trey at? Could be interesting. Maybe Trey's getting in character, getting ready to play the Suicide role. Either way, I'm disappointed that we didn't get to see the match. I was really looking forward to seeing Xavier fight in the ring. But I'm excited to see that the Good Brothers came out and they mean business. They're continuing the storyline against Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. And again, I really like the way Ace Austin is using his magic tricks, and he's decided to disappear from the impact zone and be somewhere safe.
I mean, I didn't like that the Good Brothers came in and interrupted the match. I didn't like it because I always like seeing the Rascals fight. You know, they're always a good time. I hope they get to call out the Good Brothers, and you know, we see a match between the Rascals and the Good Brothers next time because of this. You know, it's like, hey, you can't just interfere in a match like that. Who do you think you are?
That would be pretty interesting if they call them out. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to give this segment a thumbs down. Even though we did get to see some progression in the storyline against the Good Brothers and Ace Austin, I'm just disappointed that the match was interrupted and cut short.
Yeah, because not even just about the Rascals, but I would have loved to see Suicide do his spider move when he just hangs onto the ring, the ropes, when he hangs onto the ropes sideways. I think they call it the spider or hanging spider, something like that. You know, I always love seeing Rascals. I like seeing the Suicide. You know, I like seeing all these high-flying competitors that do all these like tricks while they wrestle.
Finally, we have Rohit moving up and making moves. This week, he slid himself into an X Division Championship match where Chris Bey is going to defend his title against TJP and Rohit.
I don't want to predict too far in advance, but I kind of had a feeling that Rohit was going to do something like this. You know, if you've been keeping up with our videos, you've seen that I've been saying Rohit is planning something. You know, he's looking out for himself here, really. He's not really trying to be friends with Chris Bey.
And he waited for the perfect opportunity. Just waiting. And when it came up, he came up on it and he took it. And I really like that. I'm really interested to see what's gonna happen. Is Rohit gonna try to win the X Division match, or is he gonna help Chris Bey so that he can defend it against TJP?
That's a good question. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. As always, you know, give us your opinions. What do you guys think? What do you want to see happen?
And before we get into this last segment, I want you guys to just hit the like button down below to help us out. We want more wrestling fans to find out about this awesome channel so that they can come and hear what's going on with Impact, because we are for fans, by fans. We get into the last segment, which it was Eddie Edwards doing his open challenge against anybody for his world title, and Brian Myers decided to make an appearance.
His debut, his Impact / debut on the Impact Zone.
And I'm just wondering, man, this guy really got the short end of the stick. Like, why would you make this your debut? Like, I feel like it just kind of pushed him down. Like, he was coming in with this hype. He had these promo videos, and then he comes in just to lose. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, but Brian Myers didn't even look good in the ring. I'm not really too hyped about him anyway.
I don't know, but something about this match brought back the thought in my head. Is there some kind of feud between these new incoming superstars and between the current ones that we were used to? It wasn't a great main event. I love Eddie Edwards, but like I said, I love Eddie Edwards on the matches where he shines the brightest. And this wasn't one of them. For many reasons. It wasn't one of them because, you know, it wasn't too much of a fight. We didn't see too much good action, anything that's like, oh shoot, that just happened, you know what I mean? It was kind of like just like a basic match. And overall, I'm not sure how I feel about this week's episode in comparison to last week's. You know, last week's episode left me hungry for more. You know, all weekend long I've been telling this guy, oh, I can't wait for Tuesday, oh, I can't wait to see what's gonna happen, come on. And then bam, just very anticlimactical.
You know, I didn't like the main event. It was a good one, don't get me wrong. Eddie Edwards and Brian did throw some good punches. They did bust some good moves. But, I don't know, it was just kind of weird. Like, I wasn't expecting Brian Myers, and I kind of wish he would have had a different debut. But it also opens up the possibilities of what's going to happen next week. Is Brian Myers going to go to the ring and call Eddie Edwards out maybe for a rematch? Or what is he gonna do? Now Brian Myers has to work harder because now he has to prove that he's not just a journeyman who's coming in to lose matches. So it might be a good thing that this was the way Brian Myers debuted.
I think we're gonna have to see Brian Myers fight against Rohit Raju to see who is the true clown.
But that was this week's episode of Impact. If you liked what you saw, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you guys can stay tuned to more of our great, awesome videos regarding wrestling. And this has been The Beatdown.